We'll be happy to present Kima. So Kima is basically an interoperability communication protocol. We're basically a network that has no liquidity on it. It has no users on it. It has no smart contracts on it. And it only serves as a connection between all blockchains and more precisely, all financial ecosystems, meaning decentralized and centralized, through the Kima Network. We are serving as the communication pipe that allows every blockchain on Earth to communicate with any blockchain on Earth, and to every blockchain on Earth to communicate with every centralized financial ecosystem on Earth in a completely decentralized manner, and vice versa, of course. This is Kima in a nutshell.
Got it. So Kima, from what I'm hearing, is more of a B2B play, which does benefit end users ultimately by connecting all the entities from crypto and TradFi.
Correct. So I'm not sure if I would call it B2B because, at the end of the day, our users, hence, are the ones who will be building on us and using us are basically developers who will be connecting to the Kima network for their dApps. It can be a whole network. It can be a certain dApp. Then on that end, I assume that, we are a B2B platform. Users do not even know that we exist. They shouldn't know that we exist, and they shouldn't care that we exist. You can say that it's similar to using the fiber optics that are connecting continents, right, for internet connectivity. So basically, we're all using it daily, but no one even knows that there's a company that provides it, and we're all paying to our internet service providers. Then, that's our, you can say, B2B to C existence. Correct.
Got it. So it seems like it's a bit of the ultimate interoperability play. First question coming is, of course, why didn't we have this sooner? I must assume it's not easy to do on the technical side. I'm sure you did catch some people's interest when you said you have no smart contracts. So without, making it too complicated, don't want to lose too many people, but if you want to explain maybe how it works, the no smart contract thing is definitely something that people will want to know why.
Of course, I would love to. So Kima works in a very unique way. So as I said, unlike any other blockchain on Earth, Kima has no users, no liquidity, no smart contracts. The fact that we have no smart contracts, by the way, is also the unique way that we can offer as the only decentralized communication protocol on Earth an SDK and an API. Because we have no smart contracts and because we do not do any computation on our end to resolve any transactions. We're only passing messages. The solution itself sounds very easy, but it was very, very complex, of course, to achieve. A little bit about our team, maybe before I'm jumping into the depths of the solution. So our founder was of the first inventors of the first cold wallet in the world, Project Aegis. Eitan Katz is one of the team members that funded this thing in 2013, 2014. It was a wallet that utilized phones and browsers to basically create an MPC wallet, the first cold wallet in the world. From there, it was, you can say, the foundations for the Kima solution. I will explain now how things operate in our worlds, and then it will be easier to understand how things are operating in the Kima world. So today, if you have $100 and you want to transfer 100 USDC from Solana to Ethereum, what you will do is basically going to a smart contract on Solana, a bridge, as we call it today. We will send $100, 100 USDC to the smart contract. The smart contract will confirm receiving 100 USDC, It's a software that does it, the smart contract itself, or an oracle that is also a software that sits beneath these two smart contracts. And once the smart contract receives the 100 USDC, the smart contract on Solana initiates a transaction of a smart contract on Ethereum to send 100 USDC to the end user. That's how they operate. Everything is triggered by smart contracts in a completely decentralized manner. The problem here is that these are basically softwares. The smart contracts are softwares written by men. Every software written by someone can be hacked by another. It's just how these things work. So in our example, we just sent 100 USDC, but if I found a way to basically cheat that smart contract on Solana, and let's say use the same signature to send over and over again an empty transaction, I can drain the bridge on Ethereum from all of the liquidity that is locked on it, right? I will be sending 100 USDC once, I will be getting confirmation, and then I will use the same confirmation to over and over and over and over again confirm the same transaction. And that's how we will basically drain the Ethereum side without sending any more money. Again, I can do the same thing with an oracle just to find a way to blind it and then cheat the smart contract to send me all the money from the Ethereum side. Kima works in a whole different manner. So Kima is completely agnostic to blockchains now and in the future, and completely agnostic to the digital assets that we're transferring. Now, when we are transferring something, we are basically initiating through the network a transaction without using any smart contracts on our end. And I will explain briefly how it works. So I'm going to send the same 100 USDC from Solana to Ethereum. First of all, on every blockchain on Earth, we are now building a Kima relay, a Kima connector, that through it, you're communicating with the Kima network. You guys can imagine it like taking an Ethernet cable and plugging the Ethernet cable into the wall socket. And when you connect the cable to the internet socket, you're connected to the internet network. So on our example, the smart contract on Solana will now be connected to the Kima relay. So the smart contract has received 100 USDC. The smart contract on Solana now sends a message through the relay, the Kima relay on Solana, to the Kima network, a message. Consider it like an envelope with a letter inside saying 100 USDC received in this transaction ID. Send 100 USDC on Ethereum when confirmed. So the Kima network now receives through the relay, they receives the message. And now the Kima network, then the validator nodes themselves are going to the Solana MPC vault address to see that indeed 100 USDC physically arrived and that the transaction indeed is there. Once 2/3 of the validator nodes on the network confirm that physically they saw that it happened and that it's there, they are each releasing a shard of the MPC vault access that is stored on their CPU core. The CPU core of your computer, guys, is the most secured piece of hardware you have on your computer. And using Intel's technology, TEE, we are storing these shards on the CPU cores, and then we are releasing them once we indeed, in that case, saw that the 100 USDC arrived. Once 2/3 of the validator nodes are revealing each their shards, they're going basically to the Ethereum MPC vault, and they are creating a transaction to send 100 USDC to the end recipient. That process that I just explained sounds like it's a very, very complex process, but basically it happened at the speed of light. It happened at the speed of internet. The only latency we had was the latency on Solana side to resolve the transaction, and on the Ethereum side to resolve the transaction. Everything between it on the Kima end happened at the speed of light, exactly like we're having this conversation now. We have no latency, there's no computation to be done. Now, three theoretically unhackable processes happened during this demonstration. One, not send any money, right? We've sent 100 USDC to Solana. A message has arrived. We only sent a message through the Kima Network. We did not send any money. You cannot steal something that doesn't exist, right? So a message arrived to the Kima Network. We used message, not a smart contract, theoretically unhackable. Then 2/3 of the network validators needs to physically see that the money is there. Once they see that the money is physically there, they're going to the address. Once they see that it's physically there, each of the validator nodes releases the shard. So again, step number 2, physically, the money had to be there and 2/3 of the validator nodes had to confirm that it happened. Then the third theoretically unhackable process happens. We're releasing a shard stored on the CPU core, of course, decrypting the shard and going and creating the MPC vault transaction. The blockchain itself manages assets on all other networks. This is something very unique that only happens on Kima. Kima is the only blockchain on Earth that manages assets on all other blockchains. Every blockchain on Earth today has smart contracts that are managing assets on it. Kima is the only blockchain on Earth that has no smart contracts and manages assets on all of the blockchains that exist today. Very, very unique, and everything happens in a decentralized manner. So these are the 3 simple, theoretically unhackable processes which enable us to provide the most secure, most attractive, cheapest and fastest interoperability solution in the world in a completely agnostic way to technology and digital asset class. The same thing, of course, can happen also with your bank. Due to the fact that we do not have any smart contracts, a bank through an API or an SDK can directly connect to the Kima network and connect your Ethereum wallet directly to the bank account. Then imagine that you can go to your bank and decide to send 1,000 euros to your friend, and basically you will decide to pay with your ETH on Ethereum. The bank will send the request to Ethereum network to liquidate your ETH to a value of 1,000 euros. Will receive confirmation that it happened, that it received the money on his end, and then you will send 1,000 euros to your recipient. Imagine that you're connecting your Robinhood app directly to your Solana wallet. You're connecting your Robinhood app directly to Solana, and now you're deciding to use Bank to purchase Apple stocks or Tesla stocks or whatnot. Easily, the Robinhood app will be able to access your Solana wallet, liquidate Bank in whatever amount you will choose, and purchase the stocks for you. All of that happens with the magic of Kima, and that's what we're building.
So, Tomer, that sounds very interesting, and I would love to dive more into the concrete use cases and ask you if you've had conversations with banks or any other company, and what does ultimately Kima enable as use cases like you just described. But I would have just one last technical question before we move to that, which is what happens if 2/3 of the validators collude and they say, oh yeah, there's like $1 million that just arrived. So, and the question behind would be, is there a cap, or can the validators only say that X amount of money was received if that X is smaller than the amount they put as collateral?
So I think that you're asked I can answer this in 2 answers because we touched 2 different things here. First thing that we touched was your question about what happens if the network validates, $1 million have arrived and $1 million did not arrive, right? That was the first question. And then you asked what
Correct.
happened.
Yes. In some kind of a hypothetical scenario where the nodes would collude and be malicious in order to steal money.
Yeah. Well, in order to cheat the whole network, of course, you understand that you need to hack 2/3 of the validator nodes. It's like saying, what happens if now we are writing a transaction that never happened that you sent from your wallet $1 million, $1 million USDC to my wallet. It means that I need to hack, enough nodes at the exact same time and space to be able to write this fake transaction that never existed in order to credit money that never moved anywhere. It means that I need to steal it and basically hack the whole network. So your question basically refers to the whole blockchain concept. It means what happens if we're hacking to enough validator nodes and we're faking a consensus that something had happened. Then I assume that like any other blockchain on Earth, if theoretically there's something on Earth, some great power that can do it, of course, well, they hacked the whole network. They think that everything is gone there and everything is useless by now. To any network, of course, not only Kima. Second question was if $1 million have arrived on Solana, but I don't have enough money on Ethereum side to complete that transaction, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Then here you will have, so Kima has a unique algorithm. Everybody likes to say AI now, then I will say AI, excuse me, but I had to say it. It is indeed an AI system that manages liquidity. We're calling it Lima. It manages liquidity on all blockchains that we're managing and connected to in a completely decentralized manner. The Kima network does it on its own. It's not centralized. We have no control over it, and it's completely being done by the network itself. What happens now when we do not have enough money is one of the two. If there is not enough, liquidity exists on any side for some reason, then of course you will face an error in the limit of how much you can transfer. But let's say that there is enough liquidity, but in other sources. What will happen now is that the Lima protocol will basically do what Uber does when you have too many people in a certain area that are trying to get Ubers, right? So imagine that, in Dubai and Token 2049, everybody were looking for Ubers, but no one had Ubers due to the flood. What happened is that Uber incentivized drivers to get to that area and basically pay them 2, 3, 4 times more than the normal fare in order to answer the demand. So the Kima network, Lima, does exactly the same. It will just incentivize the liquidity providers to move their liquidity to these networks that currently are facing higher demands and will incentivize them with higher yields. That's how the network itself manages all of the liquidity sources in order to answer all of the demand. Theoretically, if you transferred $1 billion and there's no about $1 billion on all of the liquidity sources at once, then I assume you will face a limit of how much liquidity you will be able to receive. You will just get an error, theoretically.
Got it.
I hope
So
that answers.
it does. A few minutes ago, you helped us envision a future in which crypto and the banks, traditional finance, everything would work together, right? Or you could use your Ethereum to pay for things directly with your bank accounts, or even some of the most liquid meme coins you mentioned, Bonk. So, we all want to finally have this mainstream adoption happen. So have you had conversations with people at banks or other, powerful companies? How do they think about crypto? How does it, what's the progress in actually making these connections happen?
Great question, and excuse me, I was just reminded that you asked it also before, and I probably missed answering it. Then thank you for repeating that part also in your current question. So we are indeed in contact with many entities, centralized and decentralized, in order to onboard Kima and provide interoperability usages using our unique technology. Important to mention also that the technology is patented. So we have 3 patents at the moment that we're working on. Of course, on the centralized end, as the decentralized end is completely open source, like everything in the Web3. And we are indeed working with a few very strong entities. I'm sure that all of you heard about the story with MasterCard. It was on Cointelegraph's homepage for like 48 hours, written an article about it in TipRanks. Binance News themselves wrote an article about it and shared it. And it was basically all around the web. If you haven't, just Google Kima and MasterCard and go to Google News, or just look at the results that you are finding, guys. So MasterCard is also our investor. FinSec Innovation Labs, owned by MasterCard, is invested in Kima, sitting on the cap table, and also FinSec Innovation Labs by MasterCard running Kima validator nodes as we speak. They are operating our node at the moment on the testnet, taking active participation in it. And we even launched partnership with Monabit, those of you may have heard about the story, to provide direct crypto payment trails for their MasterCard payment cards in Latin America area. In addition, we are speaking with most of the big banks, I can say, around Asia and the US. We're at the moment working on SOC 2 licensing, which will enable us as the first decentralized blockchain protocol in the world, hopefully when this will be done, to provide banks direct services to blockchains through the Kima Network. We are, of course, as some of you may have heard, signed a strategic partnership with Red Belly, who are also being invested by the Australian government and are destined to launch some Australian real-world assets on them to provide the official blockchain for it. Cannot discuss too much into the details there, but some of you can understand. We signed an MOU with them recently. Same was signed with Verida to provide interoperability services and transfers to all of their unique solution, and many more of these guys. Basically, there's a very, very long list of centralized and decentralized entities. That being said, if there are any Cosmos SDK developers on the space, please, we're searching for hires, so we would love to hire you. Please send me a DM, and I would love to get you in contact with our HR because we're crashing.
All right, awesome. So definitely a few top names that everyone has heard of that are going to be integrated. Do you have any idea of the timeline before we see the actual use case being available for everyone?
Yes, so our testnet, as I said, is already live, and these things are already happening on the testnet. So it's happening for real. These things are already operational. To those of you who would like to test it, you can see our demo and try to transfer everything you want at the moment on our testnet. I think that we passed recently 1 million transactions, and we did not even inform about it. So definitely we should. When we should share the links probably also for you guys to test it. We'll try to do it through our Twitter. Then follow us on Twitter, and we'll probably post some guidance let's say by this weekend. As the real world usage at the moment, as I said, everything is being built. So it can now at the moment where there's a project that builds, for example, a way to lock BTC on Bitcoin network. As you know, Bitcoin network has only Bitcoin, and it's a dumb network. But there is a way for us to lock Bitcoin on Bitcoin network, and then that specific dApp is staking ETH on Eigenlayer for the locker of BTC. So basically, your Bitcoin goes nowhere, and you're using it to stake real ETH on Eigenlayer. One unique usage that we're having now. Of course, the crypto direct, I call it crypto direct cards. So you just swipe your card now, and if you chose, for example, that you will be using your ETH to pay the bill, then at the moment you swipe your card, a real transaction to liquidate that certain amount of ETH has just happened on Ethereum. with no intermediaries. Important to say, there's no intermediaries. At the moment, guys, you're working with intermediaries. We're all working with them. There's someone in the middle that sits in the middle and eats up our money by taking these fees in a centralized manner. So all of this magic happens completely decentralized way. There's another project that is now exploring with influencers how to enable influencers to utilize their network through Kima Network. So, for example, an influencer connects his Twitter account to the application and allows retweets. That application is connected to the Kima network, and every time that a certain amount of Solana is being paid to a specific influencer with a tweet, a link to a tweet, then through the Kima network, automatically it's being retweeted from that influencer's account. Very unique API use case that does not involve specifically money swaps on any side. Kima can also do a swap of any asset theoretically to any asset. There's an app now that we're building with a partnership with one of the biggest decentralized exchange aggregators in the world. You can guess, I'm not mentioning names now. We're building a super swap, as I call it, which is basically a swap from everything to everything directly. So imagine that you can even bridge ETH with no bridge. So without wrapping assets and with no synthetics, no mint and burn. So you will be using that Kima super swap to liquidate your ETH to USDC, and on the other side, on Solana, for example, you will get SETH using that same amount of money that was liquidated and now stands in your balance to purchase it. So you just swapped ETH to SETH with no bridge, no wrapping, no mint and burn, and no synthetic assets, like to the real thing. You can even take your ETH and swap it to directly to Sol if you'd like. You can purchase with it directly Bitcoin. Whatever you want to do, you can do using the super swap, thanks to the uniqueness of the King solution.
Wow. Okay.
Some
So,
examples.
I mean, at this point, I would be like, well, what cannot you do, right? Is there any restriction?
At the moment, you can do whatever you want. Basically, it's not even limited by us. We cannot limit this because it's completely decentralized. So Kima Network does not own the Kima Network itself, right? Like, we cannot control what you do. Everything you can build can happen. Everything you build through the Kima Network can exist. Your only blockers would be blockers on the centralized side. When you will be facing, of course, the centralized side, here we are facing the worlds of KYC, KYT, KYB, and here there are many limitations of what you can legally do. But I'm sure that malicious players would also find their ways there, unfortunately. And yeah, as everything else in DeFi, BYOR before you use stuff.
Got it. You mentioned that the current way things are is with intermediaries eating up fees. So I would ask, is there any fee on Kima? And how does the whole economy work, right? You have to make money at some point. And probably that ties into the token that you guys will be releasing if you want to touch words on that.
Correct, and you're on point. So the fees that will be paid are basically fractional to what you're paying today, and you most probably will not even feel it. So, and I will explain how it works, and then we'll touch about the Kima token. So, I'm, for example, I'm a yield hunter, right? I'm using my stables to generate yield at any given time. When we're generating yield on chain, we have with crypto, we have two options. Either we're doing it in a centralized manner through the exchanges, or we're doing it on chain. If we're giving it through the centralized exchanges, it means that the money is not ours, right? It's being managed basically by someone else, We all know the stories of FTX and how it ended up for everyone. The other option is to use the on-chain option, which means to give my money to some kind of a smart contract that will now manage it to a protocol that will manage my money. Again, if that protocol will be hacked, then my money will be lost. These are the risks of working with the on-chain realms and hunting yield on them. Now in Kima, imagine that the liquidity provider like me can basically leave the money exactly where it is on the MPC wallet. It doesn't go anywhere. There's no smart contract that manages it. It just sits there on that address and generates yield. Amazing, right? Without lending it to anyone, without the money moving to anywhere, it sits in one place, generates yield in the most safest possible way. Now, because we have no risk, basically, we're swapping USDC to, for example, USDC or USDT to USDT or whatever stablecoin that exists in a natural manner on the other side. We also have no fractions. So I'm sending 100 USDC now. I'm allocating 100 USDC of mine. And only when 100 USDC will arrive on Solana to the wallet, I will be getting fees for providing the 100 USDC on Ethereum. My money did not go anywhere. So I know it's a little bit crazy to people to understand, but you're generating yield for not moving your money. That allows us guys to basically offer the best risk reward mix for liquidity providers of stables on chain. And by that, providing with the best possible offers to our users that are using this interoperability solution to move things from one side to another. So the costs are really like fractions. Most likely, you will not even feel most of them. Which brings me to the second part that you've asked. You've asked about the Kima token. The Kima token is basically the token that is used to move the messages from one side to the other on the Kima network. Every time that the message goes from somewhere to somewhere, the users, the DApp more precisely, is sending that message with a stamp, meaning with some certain amount of Kima tokens. The amount is so small that you guys will not even feel it. No one will basically almost feel that it happens. But with the volumes that we're generating, the more usage there is, so the more demand. Imagine that it like back in the day, to send 1 kilobyte on the network, and then basically like it became cheaper, more accessible, but the companies also made more money as it scaled. That's you can say how Kima works. Every time that a message will be sent, Kima token will be used. Now, the beautiful thing about Kima is that we don't have any competition or you can say enemies in this industry because we're not moving any dApp to any chain. Everything stays exactly where it is. So if you're on Solana and you want to create something on Polygon with Polygon's capabilities, what you will do is you will just move these assets. You will just move the message on the Kima network, create whatever you want, do whatever you want on the Polygon side, and the user stays on Solana. So the TVL, the dApp, the users, everything stays the same, and you are enjoying the interoperability of accessing all the interoperability capabilities of accessing all possible financial ecosystems and blockchains. All of your users as a dApp are technically now Kima's users, right? Because every time that you will do a request for interoperability usage of some sort, your users will pass messages on the Kima network without even knowing what Kima is, that Kima exists. We have no idea that it's there, but they're all paying for it, right? Exactly like we are now paying probably for a Cisco infrastructure to have this amazing X spaces. Probably using Cisco's infrastructure or some other company. No one knows who Cisco are. We have no idea that we're using them and paying them, but we're all kind of paying them somehow. Someone pays them now for this to happen. When we're sending these things, anything that we're doing. If you're using, for example, even a Cloudflare, we're all using Cloudflare today when visiting websites. We're all paying technically to Cloudflare. No one knows who they are. So all of these DApp users becoming in an instant Kima users. All of the DApp users are now using the Kima network. All of them. If it's 100,000, 50,000, 50, 2, 3, all of them will now become Kima users in one hit without shedding one blood drop. No fights, no battles. They're all now using the Kima network. And all of them, of course, are using and buying the Kima token.
So the bet is a huge number of very small buy-ins, right?
Excuse me, ask that again. A small
So so
number of?
so so because there's gonna be many transactions with a very small fee, in the end it will still amount
Yes,
to a big amount.
correct.
Got it.
You're exactly on point. Again, imagine that all of the DApp users of all of the DApps that exist, just by connecting to Kima, because the DApp needs some sort of interoperability, or it doesn't matter what it is even, they're all becoming Kima's users now. We do not have to onboard one DApp after the other. We don't need to participate in this infinity war between all blockchains, right? Blockchains now need to steal users, TVL, volumes, transactions from each other in order to grow. We're completely agnostic. We don't care who wins, and we're not fighting with them. All of the users of all blockchains, all of the creators of all blockchains that need some sort of interoperability usage, and who doesn't, all of their users are suddenly, in an instant, becoming users of Kima. So imagine these volumes. We do not need them to pay much. We need them to pay just a little not to feel us, don't even know that it exists, and everything operates like magic.
Makes sense. So I guess many of these apps, they already have some partner like Cisco, like you mentioned, before Kima. And maybe you arrive, you're like, hey, we're cheaper, faster, more secure. Use us instead. And so that ties into the tech you explained at the beginning. And for me also, who built the tech, right? And not just the tech, but the business. So I think it could be a good time to talk about yourself, talk about the rest of the team, and why you guys are able to build such a great company as a whole.
Okay, then I hope that people will believe that we're the right people to build this. We start by explaining who I am, and then about the rest of the team. So my name is Tomer. I've been in digital marketing for the last 25 years. I'm 5 times entrepreneur. I had 3 horrible crashes, which destroyed me financially, and 3 early endeavors that I had, 3 startups. And then the 2 that came after them, I successfully managed to sell. I had 2 successful exits. Finally learned how to choose partners in life and managed to succeed with them. Became an angel investor 12 years ago. Been investing exclusively in the crypto industry, in Web3 blockchain since 2019. I'm actively participating as a professional in the industry since 2016-17 in the ICO boom back then. And since then, I've been very operational in the industry. I'm an active angel investor, as I said. I have dozens of projects who I'm an angel investor of. And I'm writing for Forbes and Cointelegraph about DeFi and blockchain infrastructure for the last few years. Kima was an investment opportunity for me. And when I just understood what they're going to create here, of course, doubled down on my investment and was lucky enough to get an offer to become part of the team and joined as a late founder to the team as a CMO. Other than me, there's Eitan Katz, the inventor of the solution, the guy I mentioned, who, of course, was part of the Agis project team and created the first cold wallet in the world, has been doing it since forever. Programmer since very early days, even before some of you probably were born in the audience. from the people who created the first internet that we're all using today. Was a manager in HP, built and formed and managed accelerator for HP and for BMC. Same goes for the CTO of our company, has been in crypto since forever. His name is Guy. Guy Vidal has been since forever in this industry, also been building solutions for over a decade and highly involved in the whole industry. Again, professional, coming and led the technical teams in HP, BMC, and Fortune 500 companies. The list is very long. We have Tzachi Kanza, who's our COO. Also managed a fund called Titanium Technologies, VC. Also managed, still is, an owner of a Syndica who provides Web3 solutions to most of the projects that you've met since 2016 in this industry. Is one of the co-founders of Kima. We have Brian Benson, who is the ex-general director, which is equivalent, you can say, to the CEO of Binance Latin America. He was very active, as you can guess, in this industry, and is now the chief strategy officer of the project. We have many other names that I can mention. Our VP R&D, Wael, also in his background in MIT, and basically created dozens of blockchain-based solutions for banks before we even heard that they were exploring it. He was already building it for them for the last few years. Other than that, we have 3 professors who are blockchain research institution professors on our team that are advisors, but part of the active team to build this unique solution, that are hands-on keyboards with us, helping to create this magic Kima solution. And the list is long. We have amazing community managers who are some of the best in the industry. I think both of them are here. Both Arpit and Excel are here managing our communities across everywhere, Discord, Telegram. Same goes for our social media managers, also earned their stripes in previous projects, and the list is long. I hope that we're good enough to create a solution. I think that the fact that we already created it kind of say, but we need to prove ourselves in terms of growth, adaptation, and to keep up pushing daily to be able to create this magic, unique solution and bring it to every door of every Web2 user in the world, to basically make Web3 just the web for our children, for our fathers, mothers, and grandparents, right? Who for them it's too complex. You can say that, I've been quoted by our marketing communications manager. She quoted me as saying that I didn't even remember that I said on another Twitter Spaces, that I explained that what Kima does to Web3 is what Android did to the smartphone industry. What Android did is enabled our grandmother to use smartphones, just simplified the whole process. Before that, we had BlackBerry OS, Palm OS, Nokia Symbian, Windows Pocket PCs, and everything was very, very complex. And then Google presented Android with this cheap and amazing solution, with open source and everyone can use, accessible to every phone manufacturer on Earth, and basically brought smartphones to every door on Earth, right? Then this is what Kima does to financial interoperability and to digital assets, to real world assets, etc., etc., etc. I hope that we are good enough for you guys to be trusted to build this solution.
Tomer, you clearly have an ambitious vision, and the tech is one thing, the partnerships is surely great. The token launch also, clearly people value a project's worth based on the price. And as CMO, I was curious, wanted to ask you, how do you think about the launch in terms of, timeline, exchanges, launch pads, tokenomics, marketing strategy, and even possibly, strong announcements close to the launch?
Interesting question. And of course, we assume that everybody will want to know what's up with the money. When do we see the token? How does it going to work? How is it going to work? And I will be happy to also elaborate about this. Initially, we aim to launch in June. At the moment, due to turbulent markets, we may postpone it. We're not sure when, but there's only one chance for first impression, and you only launch your token once. Then we're waiting for better market conditions in order to be responsible enough for our investors, to our community who is participating in our huge airdrop activity when they will get their tokens. All of these people need to have something that will hopefully be accepted with cheer by the market and that will be providing value to both holders, node operators, as incentivization, of course, to operate nodes, and of course to DApp creators in order to take Kima seriously and keep building and expanding our network. All of these need and require a successful launch. We're trying daily to do everything in our that we possibly can in order to achieve that. If it's by doing the right partnerships, right collaborations, choosing the right launch pads, choosing the right exchanges that are reasonably accessible and they're not going crazy in this bull run at the moment in order to launch our token. We're onboarding KOLs of the best of this world and industry. We've onboarded many influencers who are part of our ecosystem and supporters. Important also to mention, we have a rule. We do not pay for any influencers. We don't pay anyone. So every time after an AMA like this, we're getting all kind of requests by influencers. We are not paying for any influencer to participate. And we're also saying to influencers who are part of our ecosystem, if you do not think that we're doing something right, don't write about us. There's no obligation in anywhere that says that someone is forced to write about Kima, tweet about Kima. All of these are choosing to be part of it and are doing everything that you see 100% organically. That being said, 2-hour launch. So delaying from June might go in June. All depends on the markets and the climates. If it will be great timing to launch our token. Do not know to tell you exactly when we will launch, if not on June, but we will launch when it's best for the token. That being said, we had the whole strategy from the beginning to be very with feet on the ground and very accessible to everyone. We are not launching a project by 500 million FDV, by 200 million, 300 million FDV. We're not doing this circus. We're launching with very reasonable valuation of 45 million FDV. We've been asked so many times, how come you're not launching at 1 billion? How come you're not raising by 500 million? But you can easily raise by 700. Well, I will tell you why, guys. Go to every project out there and please do look at the graphs of all the projects that have launched with these crazy valuations just to justify this to investors to provide for them great exit strategies that are launching with these hundreds of millions valuations. All of their graphs are looking the same, like a graveyard. It looks like a pump and dump graph, unfortunately. Maybe it will work in a pick of the bull where everybody are throwing money at the casino, but I do not think that this is sustainable in our economy. I do not think that it's sustainable in our current market climates, and I do not think that it's good for the project and for the holders. We would like to provide an opportunity for everyone to be able to participate in taking part of the Kima Network. We would like to make it accessible to every pocket, and we would like to give the same opportunity to all. That's why we're launching with a very, very, very attractive valuation of $45 million FDV. The initial market cap is, I think, around 400 or 300 and some change at the moment, excluding liquidity. Including liquidity, it's about maybe give or take 70, 80% more than that. So we're very reasonable, very feet on the ground, and we're here to stay, here to scale. Token will launch when the market is right, when the time is right, and it will be most beneficial for the project first, investors second. This is my answer.
Got it. Well, the Twitter space is almost coming to an end, but I can say as an investor with close to 7 years of experience, I have seen, for the best and the worst, some very, very strong projects launching in very tough markets do very bad. And I've seen very weak projects, to the point it's laughable, launching in extremely good markets and do absolutely amazing. So the timing, as you said, and being flexible for me is the most important, for sure, because the start sets the tone for the rest of the project. And it's also very funny, the highly inflated valuations, and not just highly inflated, right? I mean, a project could have a very high valuation, but for me, what's worse is when there's a very high multiplier between rounds, which is obviously much higher than the value created in such a short amount of time, right? So if you raise, I don't know, at a 20 million valuation in January, and then 2 months after at 50, and 3 months after at 200, right? It's obviously inflated and not actual value being created to sustain these valuations. And they're very basic ploys made by the top VCs who come in earlier and use their big name to make other people FOMO at high valuations and make even more money, which in my opinion is not many people talk about it because not many people want to say things about these big VCs, but it's still something that happens. So in any case, we only have a couple more minutes. I think we're gonna say our goodbyes very soon. Is there any last words you would like to say, Tomer?
First of all, I want to say that I completely agree with what you just said. You know, you and I are also friends outside of this Twitter space, and the discussions with you, you know, usually go deep into valuations and tokenomics and exploring projects together. Because again, I'm also an investor, and I'm always, you know, happy to share deal flow, you know, with gains and to get the amazing deal flow that you guys are getting. And we have amazing discussions, you know, together about valuations and projects, and we learn from each other, and we are correcting each other. Then I completely agree with what you just said regarding the approach, you know, of the big VCs. Now, you know, we all need them. They're part of the ecosystem. You know, there are titans here, there are whales, they're opening doors that many can probably cannot. But some of them are also playing in this industry in a very manipulative way that is creating some sort of a pyramid of the ones who got in first or the ones to exit during a TGE, which at the end of the day is a method that might most of the times be against the, you can say, retail investor, the simple investor, the simple person who would like to buy tokens on the market. And unfortunately, that doesn't not only hurts the pockets of our audience, of the retail investors who are the users of these solutions, but hurts the project itself and eliminates the ability of the project to grow and to scale, and destroys projects on launches just due to the fact of bad tokenomics, bad decision of how to build your cap table, and bad decision of who to listen to when you're creating these. And basically, how will I say it? We say letting the cat protect the milk, guard the milk. Then I couldn't agree more with what you said. I thank you for having me. It has been a true pleasure. Always fun chatting with you, and your community is awesome. We are hyper proud of having Gains as our backers, as friends, as supporters, and your support across everything. If it's with connections, with business development capabilities, if it's of course with funding, with your amazing community, has been of the most amazing support we could ever receive by any participant in this market. Then I thank you for having me, and thank you for all the love, support, and everything you do for Kima. And
Tomer,
thank you guys for being with us.
thank you so much for the kind words. It means a lot. And I will always say, I wouldn't be anything without the community. And, our logo, I'll finish with that, is actually kind of stilized these days. But back then, it was a school of fishes, so in the form of a whale, that symbolizes that many fishes together can be as powerful as a whale. So that's pretty much the spirit behind Gains. And guys, follow Tomer, follow Kima Network for updates. I think it's a very interesting project for sure. We are invested with Gains, and follow Gains as well. And see you soon for more talks, more news, more alpha. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you guys. Have a great evening. Looking forward to see you in our communities. Feel free to follow us to all of our updates here on Twitter, our Discord, and on Telegram. We have communities in almost any language. Then you don't even have to know English. You can basically join in your own language. It can be Chinese, Japanese, Korean, French, Indian, Arabic, you name it, we have it. Feel free to join our communities. We're updating all the time. Thank you again for having us. It was fun. Bye, guys.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. Cheers.